Okay, so hi, my name is Ryan, and I'll be presenting a workshop on how to make a pitch. Now, while a lot of people may think that pitching is primarily a business thing and is a rather difficult endeavor, I'm here to make the case that pitching is and should be an everyday thing. I think this is a rather important thing to realize. I mean, to an extent, we fundamentally know how to persuade people anyway. We say, Ma, I want to go out with my friend, it's her birthday. And she replies, girlfriend mo ba yan? And if it helps your case, you'd say no and reply, but I'll be home by 9. Or maybe you'd say, sir, 1 point na lang at pasado na ako sa exam eh. I'm a good student naman. And if it works, then great. Now, notice, when we persuade, or what I would call the everyday pitch, we take into account the basics. We check out three things. Who are we pitching to? What are you trying to pitch? Or how am I going to pitch it, right? And this is correct. And in business pitches, this is this list is practically the heart of it. And in essence, you should know how to pitch already, and that's all. Just joking. Okay. So what I really plan to show you guys is quite simply how to elevate your pitch. And basically, because we all know the heart of pitches and how to persuade people, I want to be able to differentiate pitching versus persuading. I want you to learn how to be a compelling speaker and how to make compelling speeches rather than just simply, than just simply saying what's on your mind and simply going back into the three things that we talked about, which is the what, the why, and the how. Okay. So, elevator pitch. All right. Before we start, I do want to share with you who I am and all of the things that I've done. So, well, I'd like to tell you a little about myself because being here today and seeing all of you is really an inspiring sight. I mean, I was there in your place as well. I'm actually just 20 years old and I'm the founder and chief executive officer of Mindocheo, a tutoring service based in Australia, the Philippines, and now Canada. So we are at heart a tutoring service, but for the past few months, we have been trying to create technology that would digitize the tutoring industry and hopefully classrooms too. And like I said, I was one of you for a while. In 2015, I joined Enderun's The Next Bright Idea, and this is me. And that is when my pitching journey began. And I joined a competition that's exactly like it, like what we have right now. So we innovated and pitched, and we were young and bright high school students. And at 14 years old, I was trying to get my team and I's, let's just say, god awful idea, and we lost. I mean, what we planned initially was to put windmills on cars, and I was 14 years old at the time. But that didn't stop me from there. I think um, if you really are an entrepreneur, or at least you have a sense or love and passion for innovation, you would keep going and try to nurture and grow as well as an entrepreneur. And from this loss in 2015, I studied and I worked and I studied and I tried to develop myself as best I can. And fast forward in 2020, just last year, I was AXN and GoDaddy's. I was part of AXN and GoDaddy's Project Go, which you can watch online actually. We pitched. We were four entrepreneurs, top four entrepreneurs in the country, and we pitched our ideas to the country's top entrepreneurs. And then quite recently, I nabbed third in Entrepreneurs Organization's Global Student Entrepreneur Awards. In both competitions, I pitched Mindocheo, which is the tutoring agency. And more than anything, the best part about these opportunities was that we had free mentorship. And I learned so much, so much from great people and great mentors from around the world, even from EO and from the country. And today, I hope to share with you what I've learned from starting up my own business, what I've learned from these mentorships, and practically from all of these experiences. Because all of these competitions at heart are pitching competitions. And like the Brent competition here today, you will be pitching too. And I hope from this you tend to grow and to eventually seek out your own opportunities and make a name for yourself. And, keep pitching. And all right, so elevate your pitch. So I've summed it up into three sections, and I hope we have the time to talk about all of this today. So, number one, we'll be talking about your idea and you. And it all starts with a perfect story. The second one we need to talk about is now, well, formulating your pitch, where we aim to communicate and captivate. And then the third one is to elevate your pitch, wherein we this time we want to compel and to inspire. So your idea and you, it all starts with a perfect story. All right. So first and foremost, I do wanna ensure that um all of you before even starting your businesses have asked this question, because in pitching, this I think is the most, if not at least one of the most significant factors that will make or break your pitch. Who are you? So when you ask yourself this question, you need to ask yourself three things. First and foremost, what is my story? What is my mission? And what are my skills? When you ask yourself this question, and when you're formulating a pitch, at least when I was formulating my pitch, I wanted to ensure that I proved who I was to the audience. It may be investors, it may be simply an audience that's just watching you, it could be a judge. But the point is, you have to get your story down, you have to get your mission down, and you have to get your skills down. As the previous speaker had said, you need to find out your strengths and your weaknesses. Because effectively, when you're starting a business and when you're pitching this business, you want to prove yourself. You want people to know that you're capable and that you can do this. And we'll see how we'll apply this segment later on when we're formulating the pitch. But again, these are the three things. So quite personally, I'm very passionate about technology as a web developer and a software developer myself, taking up computer science at UP. But I'm also very much passionate about education. And so the solution that I came up with personally was to try and blend the two. My first product was volunteaching.org, which is a platform that helped teachers, because I knew that, being passionate about education and technology, I could actually spend my time in this. And the fact that I would communicate my mission, my story, and my skills, it gave people, at least people who would buy into the idea, it gave them this comfort, this reassurance that this person right here can do it and will do it. And again, this is what you need to do. Sort this out, sort these three out before you even start your pitch. Because when you can't even answer this question, then you're not even supposed to be making this pitch in the first place. You need to ensure that to make the most compelling of the most compelling um, pitches, you need to be able to prove this to your audience. And of course, you have to be authentic with yourself. I think that's the most important part. It's not about window dressing. It's not about making yourself look great, and it's not about bragging to your people. You have to be authentic about who you are and your temperaments. And all of these attributes, these qualities, they have to be a part of the pitch, because a lot of people don't understand this, but you can't juxtapose your idea and yourself. These two have to be together. When you present yourself out there and you present your idea, you're presenting practically your brainchild. You're presenting a part of who you are. And in that same way, the idea becomes who you are as well. And people want to buy into that. People want to see that. Because if you're not authentic, and if you can't even prove yourself, then people will definitely not look into your idea at all. So again, ask yourself who you are and ask yourself this, and ensure that you have this down. And again, we'll go into actually, incorporating this into your pitch, and I'll recommend you some examples for you to see. And again, be authentic. Make sure that you do show them or you do tell them your weaknesses. And of course, you want to ensure that there are like backups to these weaknesses, that you actually have people working with you. So you can go and say that you're not a web developer yourself, but you have a great web development team, something like that. Be authentic, but don't sugarcoat. um, know yourself. Yeah. All right. So the next one is, this is what will be this is will be the brunt of the entire talk, the entire workshop, which is formulating your pitch. Okay. So the main objective of any pitch, like I said, we want to differentiate simple persuasion to actually pitching. And the main difference, in my opinion, is a pitch communicates as much as it does captivate. And by communicate, I mean this is practically the structure that I grew up with even in 2015. This is practically the four objectives that I do that I personally use when I formulate my pitch. But all of these have some subcategories, and I'll teach you like the different ways on how to actually go through these objectives. Okay. So again, there's a difference between actually pitching your business or actually pitching an idea to just persuading the person of your idea. A persuasion is practically superficial. Some persuasions could go the depth, but I think what separates the two is that a pitch wholeheartedly proves. And like I said, as it proves, these are the four main things that you want to prove. So number one, prove yourself. In pitches, the main thing that a lot of people do when they prove themselves is, I guess, the most fundamental thing that you can do is um, tell them of your competencies, your skills. Okay, so I'm a web developer, or I'm a student, I'm a high school student. Not necessarily that, but rather, like I said, this is why you need to know yourself really well. Because in order to prove yourself, you need to prove them that you are the right person for the job. All right. So this goes hand in hand with your mission. You become more so of a symbol, if that makes sense. You want to be your idea. You want to prove that you can accomplish this idea, and you want to prove that you are the right person for this idea. So again, one of the ways to do that is, of course, you can talk about your livelihood, your experiences. But what I personally think is the most compelling would be your mission. And you obviously have to prove your mission. You have to show to people that this is what I've done as a student or as an educator or as an innovator, and this is what I want to do, and I would love your support for it. So again, your mission, who you are, and your philosophy are what matters. If you want to prove yourself, yes, your skills and competencies matter, but I personally think that your mission and um, what you plan to do is such a big and essential factor in as well. Right. The second one is to prove your problem. Of course, the previous speaker did touch on this quite a lot because you don't want to create solutions or you don't want to pitch about um, products that don't actually make sense, right? So you want to look into the problem really and to understand it, and you have to be a leader in that problem. You have to be immersed in the problem, and you have to be able to communicate this problem thoroughly. So if the problem isn't well known, you have to be the person that shares and connects the audience in. And the best way to do this would, again, I'd say, is, well, through statistics. But statistics could be superficial. So the second thing that you can try to account for would be your own experiences. And a lot of entrepreneurs that I've seen would actually go on and illustrate a problem. And I really appreciate this technique. Like they'd go call out an arbitrary person, let's say Juan, and then he'd talk about what Juan does in a day. And, you know, he'd quite literally paint that picture for you. Like this is the problem that one faces, and this is a problem that goes on in society, and this is why. And a part of proving your problem is proving why you actually want to solve that problem. So it's twofold. You prove the problem and prove why it needs to be solved in the first place. Because a lot of people would start to think that, no, not really. You have to compel them in this regard. So to compel them again, just to repeat, you can try to illustrate stories, illustrate the problem, show your statistics, but most of all, be as authentic as possible. All right. The third one is to prove the solution. Well, of course, we're pitching an idea, right? Pitching an idea means you actually don't have the solution yet, at least. Or at least that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to grow your solution, you're trying to make it real, and you're trying to ask the people for help in making your solution a reality. So, how exactly would you prove this solution? So, at least in the tech industry, where I work in as a software developer, the most basic way to pitch that we do is we actually create proofs of concepts. A proof of concept is an idea where you create the actual product, maybe a small version of it, and you can try to make people try. And one of the most interesting stories that I've ever seen about proofs of concepts is Pinterest. The CEO of Pinterest, when he was trying to make his idea a reality and nobody would buy into it, what he'd actually do is he'd go into tech shops and log like his website in the tech shops, that so people can actually log in, like when they're browsing for a device. Oh, what is this website? And the best way to go about this is, like I said, um, present your idea, present your proof of concept, and make people try it. Test it out in a sense. And if you have this down, and if you see that people are actually, people, or at least you, your family, your friends, and your test subjects, I guess, are actually into the idea, then at least you have some idea, some sense that your solution makes sense. And to prove this solution, then you have to really honestly study. So when you know your problem, and when you've proven your problem, you have to prove that this solution is the best form, or at least one of the best ways to solve this problem. To do so, like I said, the proof of concept idea is really great. But if you aren't in that industry yet, just present yourself, present your idea for what it is, and see to it that it makes sense. And yeah, we'll go into that again a little more later when I actually go through the examples. Um, when I actually go into elevating your pitch, because the fourth thing that I really want to ensure that you talk about in your pitch is proving its growth. So when you're talking about your solution, I think the previous speaker did say this: a good solution is a solution that is scalable. Yes, that's true. And of course, you have to prove that as well when you prove your solution in the pitch. But proving that it's scalable is a totally difficult idea, because you're dealing with predictions. And honestly, the best way for scalability to grow, or the best way for you to present your scalability, is to look at your company and to understand your company. And by doing this, you take a look at what I think, what I would sum up into three, which is number one, your team, your assets, and your audience. So when you look at your team, you want to, to prove your growth, you have to present to your audience that your team is capable not just of doing these things, but also of growing. You have to ensure that your team, you present your team, and then you see that my team can still grow. And we're looking at our team expanding into certain areas, into certain fields, and understanding like what else that your team can eventually do down the line. The second one is your audience, your market, your consumers. So obviously, you want to ensure that you're you want to kind of have a realistic sense of your customers now, and you want to have a realistic sense of how you can grow your customers. So obviously, you don't want to just present that, okay, this product can only be used by 10 people and will be used by 10 people. People won't invest in that. When people invest in something, they want results and they want to see that it can grow into a great idea. You're not trying to present an idea for what it is. You're trying to present an idea that you believe can grow with their help. So when you look into this product and you look at your audience, you want to ensure that you have realistic factors to take in. You have the sense of growth in them, such that, okay, right now we're currently selling products in Metro Manila, but then we see that this product can be used by people not just in Manila but outside. And in such a sense, you have to prove that even further. um, of course, it depends on the product. I guess I'll just share a story. um, we started off as a homeschooling business, actually. Our students were practically homeschoolers based in the south and based in Las Piñas, Muntinlupa, and Laguna. And when we were starting to pitch the idea to one of our investors, and eventually who became our partner, who lives in Australia, we were trying to pitch them the idea that our growth isn't that we're definitely capable of growing. And for us to be able to for us to have pitched this in a way, in what way, how do I explain this? We pitched this in the sense that we talked about the fact that we're currently creating materials that homeschoolers use, and that we saw students and grade schoolers who are also eventually loving the idea. And eventually, when we started to create the product of a booking system, that's what got our partner really invested in the idea. Because a booking system, of course, it's infinite. It can be used by a lot of things, but again, you have to prove that it can be used and it can be marketed. And that's exactly what we did. So when we presented that we could grow, we presented them a plan primarily. We showed them that, okay, right now we have homeschoolers, but this is what we plan to do. We plan to connect with schools in Las Piñas in the south, and pitch them the idea of our product, of our booking system, and eventually we did that and we proved, and it worked. So to prove your growth, you have to prove to the people that you have a plan of action, that you can actually build this idea up and you can actually scale this idea up and you can present this idea to all the people out there. All right. So I think the most important aspect, again, lastly, the most important aspect is you want to communicate. You don't want to just present your vision. You don't want to just tell the people of your vision. You want to communicate this vision to the people. So to be able to do this, you have four. You have those four, like I said. And yeah, okay. So now we'll be talking about elevating your pitch. Okay. So the four aspects that I did talk about, the four bullet points, the four things that you have to prove are substantially the fundamental parts. Those are the most important parts, I guess, of the pitch. But an amazing business pitch, a pitch that doesn't just persuade, a pitch that doesn't just communicate, is a pitch that I believe compels and inspires. And so this is why we talked about knowing your pitch, knowing yourself, knowing your idea, because we'll be bringing in a lot of this into how you will elevate your pitch. So to elevate your pitch, we go back to these three things again. So we have to build our story. We have to ask, what is my mission? And you have to ask, what is my skills? Um, it's at the end of this video, but these two are honestly one of the people that I have always looked up to. When I was pitching for GSEA, which is by the Entrepreneurs Organization, I was studying the pitches by these two amazing fellows. You can try to check out the pitches online. Entrepreneurs Organization actually posted them on YouTube, which is great. And I don't actually have the statistics with me, but the way EO would analyze pitches is they would actually segment their pitches into sections. And one of the greatest things about one of the great things about these pitches, and the reason why I think they actually deserve the win, is because they actually delved into who they are and their story. And the statistics that EO collects is these segments. They segment how much percent of your pitch is about what. And around 40 to 50, maybe even 60% of these pitches are actually about themselves, about their story, and about why they have their product. And I think this is, again, a very important part because pitching is a very authentic endeavor. You cannot present an idea for what it is without actually seeing this as a problem, without actually seeing the person, and without actually understanding what the person has been through. Harvard Power's pitch was practically about his father. His product is an application that tries to promote physical therapy and kinesthetics at home, because a lot of people don't actually participate in this, and it is a problem. And as a medical doctor himself, he presented that it started with his father, who couldn't actually attend these kinds of paid appointments and who couldn't actually you know have the time to help, and he lost his father because of that. And Daniela Blanco is an entrepreneur who was very much into science as a little child, and she wanted to share this passion for science and this passion for environmentalism and for this passion for protecting the environment and creating alternative solutions that don't harm the environment. She shared that information, she shared that story about herself growing, and about herself being an immigrant amidst all of this, and compelled the audience that they can actually do this too. And this is how incorporating yourself into the pitch, presenting yourself and actually pitching yourself, if that makes sense, is at its best, the heart, I think, of a really, really amazing pitch. So the structure of a great pitch then, I'd honestly just be putting it down into this structure. So the who, the what, and the how. Of course, it's up to you to kind of mix this in because I want you to be as authentic as possible. I don't want this to be, or pitches should never be rigid, in my opinion. Of course, they have to be authentic, and you'd have to have the facts in there. You have to have your KPIs. You have to have your statistics in there. But the biggest part of every pitch, I think, are these questions. So who? Start with who am I, and then understand who you're pitching to. Look at your audience, yes, but it's more important that you look intrinsically. You have to prove to these people that you are capable of this product, that you can build this product, and that you yourself will build this product. Next, the what. What am I pitching? In such a sense that I want to ensure that you know your product, but more so than anything, again, you have to prove its growth, you have to prove its scalability, you have to prove that this is the right solution for the right problem. And you have to prove to them, or at least you have to present to them what you can deliver. And you have to promise them that this is what you can deliver. And lastly, you might think that, of course, the how will I pitch is simple. But then a lot of people actually put a lot of thought into this. A lot of people would have a very good hook. Some, if I'm not mistaken, one of the mentors at EO used to tell us that one of the participants in the GSEA would tell him that I almost died, and just show them a picture of like a crashed car, and proceeded to go about that. He shocked the audience, and again, that's a part of the pitch. But again, looking intrinsically is so much better in my opinion, because we don't want to make a pitch that's superficial. We want to make a pitch that's authentic, and people buy into authenticity. There is a slide that I'm looking for. Ah, yes, there we go. Lastly, before I do end this rather simple workshop, um, I do want you, I do want to leave off with the idea of capturing your audience. So we don't want to just captivate. We don't want to just enchant, bethrall. We don't want to just impress. We want to capture your audience. In such a sense that I don't think that you should primarily be thinking about the judges of whatever pitching competition you're at. I don't also think that, of course, you have to impress your investors, but I think at the end of the day, who you're pitching to really is your customers. You have to capture them and you have to ensure that they are on your side, because your pitch is, in essence, the biggest and the only way to really communicate your idea, your mission, your vision, and who you are. Honestly, in my opinion, pitching has been one of the most thrilling things of my life, because you get to really, voice out your concerns, your story, and who you are. You're voicing out your identity as a human being and as an entrepreneur and as an innovator. And pitching is a way for us to be able to bring people in, to put them on your side, to have them advocate for what you're working on and why, or, to have them advocate on why they should work on this too. So with that, I'd like to end my workshop, and I do hope you get to understand and you get to apply this in your own pitches. And I look forward to actually seeing your pitches. I hope. Have a great day. Thanks.